This is the Limo Show.
This is not another story. This is not another drill. I refuse to be another number.
Today, we're going to cover some of the dark forces you need to eradicate to be able to completely transform your results in your dating life. So here's what we're going to cover. The first thing is we're going to cover the dark forces that are holding you back right now. And then number two, we're going to cover why, if you weren't cool in high school, it might be too late. Number three, we're going to cover how to eliminate layers in your personality and becoming the you 2.0, the version of you 2.0. And then number four, I'm going to show you the next steps to get there. So number one, the dark force holding you back right now. So have you ever wondered why sometimes you seem to have a desire for something? For example, you want to date more women, you want to get a girlfriend, you want to make more money, and you start making progress towards it, but then somehow you fall backwards again, or you stagnate. Why does it seem like every time you try to make progress towards something, you either self-sabotage or procrastinate or just stagnate? And this is in part due to your conscious mind versus your subconscious mind. So your conscious mind wants you to succeed, obviously. You want to take action, you want to approach women, you want to sleep with beautiful women, you want to have a girlfriend, you want to live your dream lifestyle, you want to travel, you want to make money. But what happens is subconsciously, your subconscious wants you to be the same person. Your subconscious self-sabotages you. It uses past stories and labels and beliefs, etc., to keep you the same, right? Because for you to embody a new identity, you would have to kill the old one. And obviously, your subconscious doesn't want that. And you have to understand that your conscious mind is only 10% of your overall mind. Most of your mind is made of subconscious patterns. You know, it's been said that we repeat 90% of our thoughts every day. Every day, 90% of our thoughts are exactly the same. So sometimes your conscious mind wants you to be something, but your subconscious mind sabotages it. So it's literally like pressing the gas and pressing the brake at the same time. And after mentoring dozens of men face-to-face, online, in boot camps, through my dating accelerator program, I became aware of the difference between those who broke through and really succeeded and those who did not succeed or who had like very average results. And before, when I started teaching success with women, I was focusing mainly on the systems, the techniques, and all of that. And then I started to realize that there was more than that. And the people who really succeeded, they've changed their identity and they've changed who they are. They've changed their paradigm. And so that's why now when I teach my systems, I always start with the paradigm first, because I realized that the systems and the techniques alone won't change anything without a change in paradigm first. Here's a quick story, and this will clarify things for you later on. So as you know, when I grew up in high school, I've never been a dork. Like I was pretty cool in high school. I had like, you know, pretty cool friends, etc. I was going to parties. I had some girls. Even when I was 14, I was getting laid, but not with the girls that I truly wanted. I mean, sometimes, yeah, but most of the time, it wasn't like necessarily the girls I truly wanted. And I didn't really have any system or strategy. I was pretty much just a natural. I was hanging out with cool friends. I was pretty popular in high school, most of it. And even at 15, I remember like I had my own social circle. We would go to nice parties. We would pop bottles, go to some clubs, etc. I know it's pretty crazy for 15, but I was living in Tunisia. So back in the day, you could even go to a club at 15 years old and still drink alcohol or whatever. And at some point, I met an amazing girl in high school. That was like in my later years in high school. And we dated for a few weeks. She was actually one of the hottest girls there. And I really thought she was the one. And my mom always raised me to be a nice gentleman. Like I was always really nice, always, you know, complimenting them, buying them stuff. trying to please them. And that's what I did with her. I would buy her little gifts. I would text her good morning and good night, etc. I would call her my princess and all of these things. And I kind of became the nice guy. And with her, I was so kind of stressed out, or I was so in scarcity that I wouldn't even try to escalate things sexually with her. I was taking my time. I was just putting her on a pedestal, and I was really walking on eggshells because I didn't know how to keep her. I never learned what to do. And after a few days, she told me like, "Hey, you're nice, Limo, but I don't think I deserve you. I don't want to hurt you." You know how girls, try to appease your feelings, but at the end of the day, it was over, right? So in other words, it meant that it was kind of over between us, right? So I was heartbroken, I was depressed, etc. And that's when I started going to the gym around, 16 years old, something like that. I was going to the gym consistently, and I was angry at myself. I wanted to improve. And then at the gym, I met this guy who was like super jacked. People would say at my gym that he was on steroids, but I don't think so. Maybe he was, but he was super jacked. He knew all the girls. He was like a true playboy at the gym. And I started to talk with him. He was like spotting me and giving me advice about how to work out. And then I started talking about my story and what happened with the girl and dating and all of that. And I told him that I wanted to get her back. And then he was surprised. He told me, "Why do you want to get her back?" And I said, "Well, because she's really my type. Like, I like that type. I like her." And then he said, "Well, how many women have you been with?" I said, "Well, in a relationship, actually just her." And then he said, "Well, you don't know your type then." And then he told me, "Look, you're too focused on her. You need to focus on yourself right now. The girls should never be your biggest concern. And women are always going to come and go, etc." And so he told me, girls are like cats. If you chase them, they're going to run away. And if you don't care, they'll come. And that was contrary to my initial beliefs, because before I thought that, women wanted like a nice guy who was always there for them. I thought that the more I invested, the more she would appreciate me for that. And I thought that I needed to compliment her all the time, etc. And these beliefs were installed in me through my childhood, through Hollywood movies, Disney movies, and stuff like that. And I would just be pandering on to women and really treating them like princesses and just being nice to them. And that would ruin my chances with them in the long term. And this guy clearly had girls chasing him. So I took his advice. And after that, I started acting with a sense of aloofness to women. Like after that, I ignored women a little bit, took more time. Even when they texted me, I took more time to reply. I started to focus on myself, my goals, etc. And by changing my beliefs and my behaviors, I actually started to attract more women to me. Girls started to chase me more, etc. back in the day. And even till now. And I went from being a nice average guy in high school to becoming a lot more successful with women after tweaking a couple thoughts in my paradigm, right? So coming back to the dark force, what is this dark force? Well, this dark force is you. It's not your past, it's not your location, it's not your skills, the president, the politics, whatever. It's you, and your life is exactly how you designed it to be. And if you were hoping to be in a better situation by now, then somewhere along the way, you must have been out of alignment with what it would take to get there. So if right now you're not dating your dream woman, you're not getting dates consistently, you don't have the money you want, you don't have the body you want, it's probably because your actions must have been out of alignment with what it would take to get there. And your actions mainly stem from your beliefs, your habits, your thoughts, and your subconscious patterns, right? And after years of mentoring various clients, I've wondered, like, why is there some clients who go through my programs and they get like 10 dates after 3 weeks, and then there's some guys who go through the same exact program and they can't even get a single phone number, or they don't even approach, they don't even open the program, right? It's crazy. So I've asked myself, why is there such a difference in the degree of success sometimes in some of my clients? And that's when I realized that my clients who broke through and who got the most success, they have evolved into someone else in the process. For example, my client Ayman, when I met him, he was getting like 3 dates a year barely even, like 3 dates a year, 1 date every quarter maybe. But now he's getting 3 dates a month. And that's because he changed his vision, his worldview, his beliefs, his paradigm. And that led to a consistent change in his actions. And then pairing that with the right systems that I showed him, that made him crush it. Same thing for Simeon. They have the same name, they have the same face, but inside they're different. They have a different paradigm, different beliefs, different vision, and different ways of conveying themselves, and a different self-image as well. Self-image is super important. There's a great book called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's a great book about self-image. Now, if you don't have what you want in life, if you don't have the women you want in life, it's safe to assume that you haven't become the type of person that really deserves the things that you desire the most. You have to evolve into that type of person. So if you want to level up your dating life, you need to become an evolved version of yourself. Now, most men, they don't want to do the inner work. They don't want to go through that stuff. They think it's too woo-woo, or they think, oh, yeah, I'm okay. Fuck that. I'll just focus on money. I'll just focus on something else. And then self-improvement becomes an excuse. And they start using money or finances or fitness as an excuse to never actually take an action, and as a way to cope with their inner inadequacies, right? And so they're going to start to procrastinate, like, oh, when I'll make millions of dollars, I'll start focusing on women. Oh, when I'll become financially free, then yeah, I'll focus on that. Or, oh, when I lose 20 pounds, then yeah, I'll start doing that. And it's never enough. These men are hiding behind their excuses, and they're not actually growing balls and taking real action. And listen, you need to understand this. The world is full of guys that are way less smart than you, that have way less money than you, that have way less looks or status, but they still get laid and get amazing women, So it's not just about improving your finances, your fitness, etc. And in my program, the Dating Accelerator, the first 2 weeks are primarily dedicated to identity transformation, beliefs shifting, mindset, psychology. And then the other 6 weeks are purely dating systems, etc. Because it all starts with the paradigm. It all starts with the beliefs first. Now, let's talk about the next point. Why, if you weren't cool in high school, it might be too late. So I was scrolling on Twitter when I came across a guy called Bain Frame, his name is. He's actually French like me, so I kind of resonated with him. And he talks about this, and I found the topic really interesting because I thought about this too at some point, and I'm sure you guys thought about this too, maybe. And it's an interesting topic. He basically tweeted that if you weren't in high school, I don't know if he tweeted it or no, I think it was on his YouTube as well. He basically said that if you weren't cool in high school, there's a good chance that you will never be cool. And everything you do moving forward in life will be in reaction to that fact. And so you will always try to compensate for a feeling you've never had. And I agree with him, because it's true that high school experiences can have a lasting impact on our lives. Like, think back to those years where maybe, I remember, back in the day, during those years, I was always very cautious about how people perceived me and my social standing in school and the way I interacted with others. I was very, very self-conscious. And I was always in my little bubble thinking about people judging me, etc. And these experiences can shape your self-esteem and how you perceive yourself. And for some men, the feeling of not being considered cool in high school can linger and manifest into adulthood. And therefore, these guys will find themselves trying to overcompensate for that perceived inadequacy. They're going to try to show off material possessions all the time, flaunting their financial success, and really developing this superiority complex with people. So imagine this. You're now 30 years old, but back in high school, you were kind of a loser. And now you've done pretty well in your career, but you still feel that need to prove yourself because of those unfulfilled high school years. And so you start buying flashy things, you start buying Versace robes, you start buying, fancy cars, fancy stuff, trying to, flash your money on Instagram and flex on the broke boys all the time, which is okay. It's okay to do that sometimes. But the problem is, while these things might impress some people, they don't necessarily help you impress the right women. And sometimes you're gonna keep attracting like gold diggers, women who are interested in you just for your money and just for your status, and you're gonna attract the wrong people to you. And the only way to solve that is to first become aware of this and then hang out with people who are naturally cool, and people who get it. And personally, in my programs, I will teach you how to do that. I will teach you how to actually approach and talk to women and seduce from a frame that is more natural, right? Not some outdated pickup lines or gimmicks and all that. There's a great book that I love. It's by David Hawkins. It's Power versus Force. And he talks about people either operating from a place of fear versus people operating from a place of love, or people operating from a place of coping versus people operating from a place of thriving. And some people, although they might look successful on the on the front end, like on the surface, they might look successful, but they're just operating from a place of coping instead of thriving, and it's not authentic. And there's this map of consciousness that he gives you. And a lot of people are in these lower paradigm, like pride, anger, desire, grief, fear, apathy, guilt, shame. And the people who really thrive in life and the people who can really build authentic connections and build an authentic life have risen their consciousness. They've elevated their consciousness, and they've been able to tap into higher levels of consciousness, like acceptance, reason, love, etc. Right? And so if you don't have the dating life you want, it's probably because you haven't become the person who can get it yet. You have to become that person. Now, some people, though, they start developing layers, and we're going to talk about how to eliminate layers from your personality. So here's the thing, man. In the age of the internet and constant media consumption, it's easy to pick up personality traits from other people, right? And you start watching, for example, Andrew Tate. I remember personally at some point a few years ago, I consumed a lot of Andrew Tate content and red pill content and all of that. And it resonated with me, because obviously I see he's successful, I see that he's getting girls, etc. So I want to emulate that. And I was actually one of his first 20,000 followers. I remember back in 2018, he wasn't that popular at all. He was just a guy on Twitter, not that popular. And because I watched a lot of his content, I consumed a lot of his content, I obviously started to act like him or wanting to be like him, like wearing suits, fighting, smoking cigars, etc. Which is not just because of him. Like, it's also from past influences. Like, if you watch James Bond movies, or you watch like very like masculine movies, or you watch, for example, there's a movie with Jason Statham. I forgot the movie, Transporter. Or you watch like other movies like that. You watch guys who are very masculine, James Bond type of guys, and you want to be like that, right? You watch Scarface, stuff like that. You want to wear suits, you want to smoke cigars, you want to be the man, right? You want to be like a mafia boss, right? And it's normal. It's not just because of Andrew Tate, right? And so then you try to emulate that. But the problem, though, is that if you try hard to become like someone else, then it becomes incongruent. There needs to be a sweet spot where you don't lose your true essence in the process, because a lot of guys, they start losing their true authentic self in the process, and then they put so many layers onto their personality that it's hard for them to build genuine connections. And this happens to a lot of men nowadays. They start to accumulate layers, and that makes it harder for people to have genuine, true connections with them. So as I said, I found this guy on Twitter, and he was talking about that. And I found this interesting. He was talking about those layers, and here are some common layers that he listed, trying to be funny all the time, attempting to impress people with muscles. Now, I mean, it's fine to work out. I think it's a healthy thing to work out consistently, but like trying to be a try-hard fighter, or, tattoos, like doing too many tattoos and stuff like that, wearing suits all the time, or just doing things that sometimes are natural to you. And for some men, removing these layers of unnatural personality traits that were accumulated through media consumption will be a crucial step in improving their dating lives. So for some men, removing these layers is going to be a crucial step to getting to the next level and building genuine connections. And sometimes in the process towards self-mastery, you start by copying people, right? You copy people that you like to kind of learn the right tools, and then you carve out your own angle at some point. It's kind of the same thing. Like, there's a lot of musicians, they start by copying someone's work, and then they do their own stuff. Or like writers, a lot of writers, they start by copying the writing style of someone, and then they create their own style. Well, it's the same thing for dating or game or whatever. Sometimes you copy someone that you like, the seduction skills of someone you like, or you copy the way someone talks. And in the beginning, it might not sound very congruent, but then you make your own style. So it happened to me too. Like, in the beginning, I was watching a lot of YouTube videos from dating coaches, or I was even buying programs from a lot of other coaches back in the day, or reading like pickup artist books. And I would try to experiment and say these things, and sometimes it wouldn't be congruent. And so then eventually I started to refine my own systems, and it became a lot more natural, and it became second nature. And then you start creating your own style, right? So you have to be aware of all these things. Now, the path to get there is that once you fix your paradigm, once you get clear on your identity and your beliefs, and you remove some layers and you do the inner work, you have to do the inner work. And that's why in week 1 and week 2 of my program, we cover that in depth. When you do these things, that's when you'll be fully ready to start crushing it. Because if I give you the right system, the right way to approach women, the right way to get dates, in real life, online, social circle, etc., if I give you just the tools without the change in beliefs and paradigm and identity, then you'll get some results potentially, but it will not be sustainable. So for your results to be sustainable, you have to fix your paradigm. You have to do the inner work. And then after that, I'm going to show you all my systems. So during the program, we have 8 weeks, 2 weeks for identity transformation and all of that, and female psychology and frame and all of that. And then 6 weeks for, systems, like dating systems. So we cover, cold approach, verbal systems, how to close the deal, online systems, social circle, how to retain women, like all of that, right? So we cover everything. And using this process, my clients have been able to get amazing results, like either 1 to 3 dates a week, or retain an amazing girlfriend. And you've seen all those success stories. I'm always sharing new success stories every single week on my Instagram, on my Telegram, on Twitter. Like, you see all these guys, they're getting sometimes 3-4 dates a week. Like, this is one of my clients, Gavin. He got like 4 dates in 1 week after 3 weeks in my program. Luke, same thing. He said, it's funny, I have all these new women in my life since I started. And there's plenty of other success stories, like Garrett, he got 2 dates. The other guy too, like 2 lays on the same day from cold approach. Cold approach isn't dead. So cold approach still works, and you need to learn how to approach women correctly if you want to get similar results. And there's so many success stories. You can check my website. I mean, I have more than 500 plus success stories. But it's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing to know how to do it, have the accountability to do it. And so if you surround yourself with the right people in my group, in my mastermind, in my program, and also with myself, we're gonna have calls every week, etc. With that ecosystem, you're going to be able to transcend your identity and transform your actions, and really start crushing it in your dating life in just a matter of weeks. So now, if you want to get there and you truly want to attract beautiful feminine women who are into you, women who crave your presence, you want to have like 1 to 3 dates a week consistently, really enjoy your dating life without wasting your time, without sacrificing your other goals, and potentially have an amazing girlfriend maybe build a family at some point. If that's what you want, then book a call with me. There's a link below this video. If you're listening to my podcast, there's also a link in the episode notes. And we would love to talk to you. We're going to learn more about your situation and your goals and who you are. And then based on that, we're going to give you a game plan to crush it within the next few weeks. And you have nothing to lose. Like, regardless of whether you join our program or not, if you attend the call, it's just a call. So if you attend the call, at least you'll walk away with a lot of clarity. So I highly recommend booking the call, regardless of whether you're going to join us or not. And you'll see that there's a lot of things that will make sense, and you'll have a lot of clarity. And we're also going to share with you some resources on the call. So book a call. There's a few slots every week, so book it before all the slots are taken. But if there are some slots available, then great, you can just pick any time available, and we'll be happy to talk with you and get you to the next level. All right, so now I just want you to listen to what one of my clients called Morgan just said. We had a call literally earlier. It was an accountability call with the group, and he said some great things. So listen to what he said.
I'm definitely dating girls now that I didn't believe I would. Even before I took the course, I was like, I'll never be able to date a girl like that. And now I'm taking them out, and they're asking me to take them home, and every single one of them, I'm getting at least a makeout session with them. It's unbelievable, really. But I've been struggling with anxiety my whole adult life. I've been medicated and through all sorts of therapy, and it's really none of it was very helpful, except for like temporary fix. And improving my frame and focusing on my goals and my values really honestly has helped me eliminate long-term clinical anxiety. And I'm down to probably 5% of the level of medication I was taking for the last 10 years, but I feel better than I ever have.